Clocking, that's winding back a car's odometer. It's been around for as long as the motor car itself and shows no signs of going away. In fact, you could say it's a lot like playing one of these. Make a small investment, spin the wheels, and wait for the payout. But if anything, it's easier because unlike fruit machines, clocking nearly always pays. When the clockers spin their little wheels, they're in a right old Erican urn every single time. But clocking is serious. Trading standards officers reckon that 1 in 4 used cars sold in this country have been clocked, and that costs you, the consumer, £100 million a year. Now, in any other industry, such a massive fraud would generate banner headlines and outraged editorials, but no. The sad thing, the real tragedy is that clocking is so commonplace that we see it as the legitimate risk of buying a used car. And if you don't think it goes on, listen to this bloke. He's personally clocked 200 motors.
Anybody can go to an auction, they can buy a car that's obviously done high mileage, that looks as though it's really, really clean, take it home, or even do it on the way home if they want to. Could take you about half an hour on an average Ford Sierra.
So how much profit is there in clocking a Sierra back from 80 to 30,000 miles?
Well, if you want to go to an auction and buy an 80,000 mile Sierra, take it home, just give it a mild valet, clock it, and then take it to another auction, you could earn yourself up to the realms of £1,500. And that is for an easy day's work where you don't have to have the bother of retailing the car, you don't have to have the bother of advertising it. You just go to one auction, buy it, take it home, and maybe 2 days later put it in another auction and then wait for your check.
The actual act of clocking is childishly simple, and it has nothing to do with one of these. That's an old wives' tale. What you need in most cases is a small screwdriver, and in some it's even simpler. Now, before you write in to say I'm corrupting the motoring morals of a generation, I'm not about to tell you how to take the speedometer out of the car or indeed to put it back in. But I will show you how appallingly simple it is to spin those digits. Here's an Escort speedometer, an oft-clocked car. All you do is turn it over, remove these screws that hold the back on, take the back off, and there is the heart of the matter, the speedometer head. Gently take that out, and we're showing 76,000 miles, which in the blink of an eye, we're going to clock back to 36. All it takes is a deft movement of the thumb. I told you it was simple. Small wonder then that scores, hundreds, thousands of cars get clocked every day. And if you think it's only private people who get conned, car dealers get caught out too.
We were on the lookout for a Citroën BX and spotted this one in the Auto Trader. We were told the 72,000 miles was genuine, and it looked it too. But, like all good used car buyers, we spoke to the first owner, a leasing company, who told us they'd sold it in March '92 with a vast 111,000 miles up. It came as a shock to the trader who was selling it too.
So, tell us how you came by this car.
I received a phone call from a guy who owned the car asking me if I wanted to buy it. I went round to his house, had a look at the car. The logbook was in his name. He said that the 72,000 miles on the clock were warranted. It all looked in good condition. I purchased the car, did a deal with him, took the car home, and the next thing I knew, I was informed by Top Gear that the car had actually done 111,000 miles. I'd obviously been conned.
And I'd have been taken in as well. These days, cars are wearing better and making the clocker's life even easier. That seat doesn't look like it's seen 111,000 miles worth of bottoms.
So what are you going to do with the car now?
Obviously, I've got to sell the vehicle, inform whoever buys it that it's done more miles than it's showing on the speedometer. I'm going to lose money. The whole thing's been a farce.
No one is safe from clocking, not even big plate glass outfits like this one. This Vauxhall Network Q Garage bought an Astra similar to this one from auction with 12,000 miles warranted. It was only when they got it back to the workshops that they realised it was dressed in borrowed clothes. Up on the ramp, all was not well. The brakes were in such a parlous state that it had obviously covered a Starship mileage. The exact mileage was hard to pinpoint. Even highly reputable organisations can be very secretive when asked to reveal the mileages of the cars they've owned. The Astra had started life with the AA. When asked to confirm the mileage, they replied, "I regret to inform you that it is not company policy to release records of any of our vehicles."
We find it hypocritical that they can write to their members stating that buying a used car is a risky business and offering their services in terms of inspection. And they've got another division of their company that's making it risky for customers to buy cars.
After Top Gear spoke to them, the AA decided to change their policy. This case has highlighted that problems and queries can come up. In future, information will be supplied to reputable companies and individuals.
So how do you stop yourself from buying a clocked car? Well, the best way is to get sight of the V5 or registration document and check back with both owners, listed here, and ask them to tell you what the mileage was when they sold the car, and then compare it to the mileage on the odometer. There are the other more visible signs on the car, the surface wear. Look at that carefully, but these signs are by no means infallible.
Uneven digits and bird screws on the speedo binnacle means someone's been twiddling. 90,000 miles puts this sort of sheen on a steering wheel. Well over 100,000 means this one's been worn smooth. Pedal rubbers aren't a reliable guide, they're often replaced, but a heel mat that's holed means 70,000 plus, as does a worn seat. Very low mileage cars shouldn't have worn and rusty spare wheels, and a frontage that looks like a small arms target means this car's done all the miles. And don't forget, you can use the service history to confirm the recorded mileage. Make sure it goes up rather than down.
The government's made some effort too. They recently introduced a mileage logging system. When you sell your car and tear off the bottom portion of the V5, you're invited to fill in the mileage at time of sale in this little box here. Trouble is, the DVLA admit that the take-up rate, although it is improving, hasn't been that good. Not surprising then that the information hasn't yet been made available to the public. Our clocker didn't think much of the idea either.
It would obviously stop a percentage of the clocking, but I feel that some way people would get around this by either not putting down the true mileage on the form that when the car is sold from somebody like a manager at a company, or somehow there would be a way around it. I just feel everybody's got to make a completely seal-proof speedometer.
So you're saying the tamper-proof speedometer is the solution to clocking?
That is the only way you're going to stop cars being clocked today.
So what's to be done? Top Gear recommend that the government takes a far more draconian line and passes legislation to fit tamper-proof speedometers to all new cars by law. And the technology exists here and now. Jaguar currently fit a tamper-proof speedometer to their XJ series. Jaguar's electronic digital mileage recorder has a special chip in it. Now, if this is interfered with or tampered with, it senses and stops working completely. And with technology getting cheaper all the time, it will soon cost less to fit one of these than a conventional mechanical drum recorder. And all the car manufacturers we spoke to said they'd be happy to fit tamper-proof speedometers if they became law. We asked the Department of Transport whether they thought clocking was a safety issue. Their response was, clocking is not necessarily something that would affect vehicle roadworthiness, so it may not affect road safety.
But if consumers driving around in cars that are more worn out than they realise isn't a road safety issue, then I don't know what is. Tamper-proof speedometers should not just be the preserve of the lucky Jaguar owner. Clocking has gone on long enough, and it costs you fortunes every year. It's time something was done.